John Kirby gaslighting Americans. It's just bizarre to see how the Biden administration and John Kirby are utilizing the fact that the Taliban announced, the U.S. has now confirmed that they killed the ISIS-K leader, that's ISIS operating in Afghanistan, who was responsible for orchestrating the bombing attack that killed 13 Americans during our botched withdrawal of Afghanistan.
John, after the Abbey Gate attack, everyone will remember President Biden's speech that night, and he vowed retribution. I mean, in it, he said, "We will not forgive, we will not forget, we will hunt you down and make you pay." The fact that the Taliban is who killed this leader, does this speak to the limits of U.S. capabilities in Afghanistan after the withdrawal?
No, actually, Kate, I think it validates the president's decision to leave Afghanistan altogether. You don't need to have a big presence on the ground, boots on the ground, to go after terrorist threats, whether they're in Afghanistan or elsewhere. Now, look, the Taliban killed this individual. I think it's a good thing that he's gone.
The leader of the ISIS group responsible for that attack was killed in Afghanistan. By a U.S. drone strike? No. By U.S. Special Forces? No. By the Taliban. Not because he was responsible for the death of 13 Americans, but because they are in a direct conflict with ISIS-K. Now, you could say, it's wonderful that the Taliban and ISIS are fighting each other because it gives them less time to focus on trying to kill Americans. But don't for a minute think this was some virtuous move, again, or altruistic move that they were avenging the United States for us. But yet the Biden administration wants you to believe that. And it's exactly opposite of what Joe Biden said would happen to those individuals that were responsible for killing the 13 Americans. Take a listen.
To those who carried out this attack, as well as anyone who wishes America harm, know this: we will not forgive. We will not forget. We will hunt you down and make you pay. I will defend our interests and our people with every measure at my command.
It sounds wonderful. He didn't do it. The Taliban did what he couldn't. It's really, I hate saying that, but it's the truth.
This is a repackaging of a failure, and they're trying to put a bow on it to pretend like our failure wasn't a failure. See, we told you it really was strategically brilliant. But I also have to say, they spent a lot of time at the Biden White House saying that the withdrawal from Afghanistan was Donald Trump's fault. And then they messed it up there at the end. And now they're saying, see how the president's decision to withdraw was such a brilliant idea because now we've got terrorists killing terrorists.
What I don't like to see is around the world headlines. I think we pulled that, right? We pulled the headlines around the world about how the Taliban killed the ISIS leader responsible for killing Americans, the mastermind. And you kind of, again, can compare and contrast that to when al-Baghdadi was killed by the U.S. government in the military when Donald Trump ordered that attack. And in those articles, of course, it's the U.S. America takes out al-Baghdadi. America takes out this leader. I mean, that's the difference here, is that on the one hand, we have a tough approach depending on who the leadership is. But do you want the Taliban to be doing your work on retribution when it's an attack on Americans? You trust them?
This is an administration that will just say anything. There's no strategy. It's failure after failure, and then they repackage it as a success, and the media go along with it. It's really pathetic.
That's the Taliban accomplishing something the U.S. should have been focused on doing. And, of course, we are hampered in our ability to do that because in the botched withdrawal, we left no one on the ground, which was never the strategy of the Trump administration. You know, that was never their goal, was even in a withdrawal, was to keep a military presence, not one that would be outward focusing on, gunfights in the streets, but to make sure that you maintain a presence. And if you look at U.S. victories in conflicts around the world, we still have a presence in those places. If you look at places where it's been kind of a draw or loss, we don't. And in Afghanistan, unfortunately, we had this situation where we're thanking the Taliban